The FTC accuses Amazon of not just raising prices on their platform for consumers and sellers, but they say the ripple effect, because it's a monopoly, has such a big impact. It's inflating prices for everybody.
These days, it feels rare to see a cop on the beat protecting consumers, but when it comes to FTC Chair Lina Khan, we do in fact have that cop on the beat, and the Federal Trade Commission under her leadership, along with 17 state attorneys general, have filed a sweeping antitrust lawsuit against Amazon, alleging that the company abused its power to raise prices for shoppers and also levy all sorts of high fees against businesses that happen to sell on its platform. Now, the lawsuit, which was filed in Western Washington District Court, alleges that Amazon engages in illegal behavior in both its online shopping marketplace and in the many services it offers to third-party sellers, allowing the company to extract monopoly rents from everyone within its reach, and that's according to a news release about the suit. Now, this means that Amazon can boost its own products in search results over others that are better quality and charge costly fees to sellers that rely on the tech giant to stay in business. So I'm going to give you the exact details on how those allegations are kind of playing out in this suit. But really important caveat to mention right above, like right at the top of the story, the FTC is not seeking to break up Amazon. That is not what they're trying to do here. It appears that they're pursuing this lawsuit to fine Amazon over its business practices. There could be attempts to break up Amazon in the future, but that is not what this particular suit is about. Now, with that said, Donald Trump missed the memo on that and put this out on Truth Social. Whether you like Amazon or not, how can the Federal Trade Commission sue to break it up? Well, it's not suing to break it up, but nonetheless, he continues. Are they going to deliver to half a country or 1/3 of the world, letting some other company do the rest? Wouldn't a company like that have to be united? It certainly can't be done only by region. Just asking. Well, I mean, it's not just about where Amazon delivers. That's not what this is about. It really is about the fact that part of Amazon's business is to have a platform for other vendors or other businesses to sell their products. But what Amazon has done is essentially use data in regard to, well, allegedly use the data in regard to some of the most sold items on their platform, and then they'll launch their own private label version of that product and ensure that when you search for a particular product, their private label version is at the top of the search results, and it tends to be far more expensive and, according to the suit, worse quality than other vendors who also have to pay a fee to be on that platform and get penalized, according to this lawsuit, if they happen to provide discounts for buyers, right? So they want to discourage the discounts. They essentially want to ensure that their private label items, Amazon's, are sold and they generate more revenue and more profit in that way.
Okay, so if you've been watching the show carefully, you know that I have, in my mind, the tech antitrust lawsuits are not the best use of antitrust. I've said that in the past. Other industries like airlines, hospitals, health insurance, etc., are a much better case, or the health industry overall. And I was gratified to see Tim Wu, who's an expert on this, go on CNBC recently and say the same thing. But this is an exception. And by the way, and I state our perspective and bias each time. Almost all these companies are our partners. Amazon is a partner in a sense through Twitch, which it owns, right? Now, having said that, this is the one situation where this is antitrust. And it's an excellent use of the government to go after this. I think that they're handling it nearly perfectly, because I wouldn't break up Amazon either. But there's three things that are huge here. One is, if they're basically forcing everybody to use their distribution system, and if you don't, they bury you, so your businesses have no chance of success. So I'm gonna come back to anecdotes about that in a second through people I know. Number two, if you don't buy an ad, they bury you, so then you're kind of forced to buy an ad. But to me, the most important one, and the one that everybody who's on Amazon talks about the most, is the one Anna mentioned, which is and I've had friends that went through this. They come up with an incredible product, and it's so hard. You try 10, 20 different products, you finally get one or two that are working really well, and then Amazon comes in and goes, because of their algorithm, they see that it's selling well, they just copy it right away, and then their algorithm puts their version of that product at the top and buries your version of it.
Yes, by the way, anyone who uses Amazon has noticed this happen. Has noticed that, like for instance, if I'm super busy with work and we're out of groceries and I have no choice but to use like Amazon Fresh, right? That's a grocery delivery option on Amazon. What I've noticed throughout the years is the brands that I typically like are nowhere to be found, and all of a sudden, the Amazon Fresh brand version of that product is what's like right in front of my face, and that's the only option I have to buy.
Yeah, so that's from the consumer perspective,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
And then eventually, once they have monopoly power, they can also drive up prices because you can't even find the alternatives,
exactly.
Right?
And I've noticed that too. The price is consistently rising for the Amazon private label version.
Now, from the small business perspective of people trying to do business on Amazon, I asked my friends who do this, I said, well, why don't you get off of Amazon? Because it seems like there's almost no chance of success. You have a tiny window in which to make money before they copy you and bury you, right? And they say, well, first of all, we're all kind of going off Amazon in a de facto way because they're bankrupting most of us, right?
That's right.
But secondly, the reason why it's a monopoly, and they didn't say monopoly, but their description is a perfect monopoly. They're like, there's literally nowhere else to go. If you go and try to sell the same products on eBay or any other website or your own website, there's not enough traffic. You just cannot sell enough. They own the whole market.
Yeah.
This is a perfect case for a monopoly. And I remember when I saw that they were doing that about copying the products and burying the others, I thought, oh my God, that's brazen. That's basically telling the government, I don't think you have any power and you're not gonna do a goddamn thing about my monopoly. So now they're doing something and they should be really commended for it.
In fact, in regard to Amazon using its data, the sales and the algorithm data in order to decide whether or not they're gonna launch their own private label version of the products that are experiencing high sales on their platform, Jeff Bezos was actually questioned about this. And let's go to graphic 7 here. In 2020, then CEO Jeff Bezos testified before a House antitrust subcommittee that he couldn't confirm that the company didn't use data it collects regarding sales of products in its marketplace to launch its own private label goods. And then he says, quote, "What I can tell you is we have a policy against using seller-specific data to aid our private label business. But I can't guarantee you that policy has never been violated."
Don't be ridiculous. They do it almost every time. It's preposterous. Anyway, they're gonna go to court and they're gonna get a chance to prove, oh my God, it's such a tiny exception. Is it? Well, we're gonna find out. And what's interesting is that like the CNBCs of the world are so hurt on behalf of Amazon.
Yes.
So let's tell you about that.
Yes, this is actually my favorite angle to the story because CNBC can barely contain itself. Like corporate media despises Lina Khan because she actually tries to hold corporations accountable. She actually tries to intervene when there is an antitrust issue at play. And they just can't stand her. Any commentary you see from one of their hosts in regard to the current FTC under the leadership of Lina Khan is just dripping with salt. Now, with that said, they actually recently had a gentleman that Cenk had referenced earlier, who is actually an advisor to the Biden administration in regard to antitrust issues. And so here he is speaking to CNBC about Lina Khan specifically, and what it just shows how much CNBC can't stand what is happening with the FTC under her leadership. Let's watch the first video on that.
This administration, this antitrust division is taking some big swings. And when you take big swings, like in baseball, you miss some and you hit some. So they're rejecting the old approach, which was like, we're not gonna hit.
They're nowhere near winning a batting title. In fact, they'd be sitting on the bench.
They haven't had many at bats yet. They've won Random House. They've blocked a whole bunch of other mergers. I think they're doing all right. The FTC did lose the Activision case, but that was a tough case to win, I'll say. So they're going for it, and it's a different kind of approach. they're happy to win. They're happy to bat 500, 600. The Obama administration wanted to bat like 1,000. They wanted to be perfect. I think this administration has a different policy.
So they didn't bring actions that they thought they were going to lose.
I mean, I was in there. We're like, well, we don't know if we're going to win this. We're not going to bring it. We'll settle it. Obama administration settled a lot. This administration is going to trial.
I mean, it shouldn't be the perspective, and I think sometimes it is with Lina Khan, that everything's bad and we're not going to let anyone merge.
You're about to hear a little more from that guy at the very end in just a moment, but that's the biggest attack that I've seen against Lina Khan. Just the notion that she has the audacity to try to hold these corporations accountable and try to prevent these mergers from happening. The audacity of trying to protect the consumer and in some cases also protect businesses. Because in the case of this Amazon lawsuit, it's not just about the consumer suffering from higher prices as a result of what Amazon is doing. It's also the business practices of Amazon translating to real harm for other businesses that are selling on that platform. Yeah. But CNBC can't have it. I mean, to have a government official, a cop on the beat, looking out for ordinary people, we just can't have it. How is this going to hurt the shareholders?
Yeah. So he mentioned there at the end, the CNBC anchor, so you can't just have it be that no one can merge, except that's not true at all. There's been tons of mergers that she has not blocked. In the media industry, there's merger after merger after merger, and the great majority of them are not blocked. He just doesn't want any of the mergers blocked because he believes in corporate power, and the more power corporations have, the better CNBC does, and that's how that works. But I want to compare Obama and Biden real quick, and then Biden and Trump. So what I want you to focus on what Tim Wu said there. The Obama folks would only bring the cases they were positive they could win, which meant they brought a lot less cases, which means that they let corporations slide over and over and over again because they were so worried about their precious ego and their careers. Well, I want a good batting average. I want CNBC to say I batted 1,000. So I'm not going to bring all these cases that I should because I might lose some of them, right? Whereas Biden's team is doing a much better job. And they're going, no, I'm going to bring the cases that are right to bring.
That's right.
And then we're going to give it our best shot. And then if we lose, that's okay, but at least we're doing the people's work, right? Now compare Biden and Trump, and that's really interesting. Because if you remember, Trump threatened Amazon because he didn't like what the Washington Post was saying about him. And Bezos owns Washington Post and Amazon. So he's, oh yeah, we're going to have to look at Amazon. I don't like this Bezos guy. And what he's saying about me. So on the one hand, you have Biden trying to protect consumers, trying to protect small businesses. On the other hand, you have Trump trying to protect himself.
Yes.
And now that he's not getting criticized by Bezos or whatever, he turns around and defends Amazon.
That's right.
And he's like, oh, what is this? And totally misunderstands, like the moron that he is, of course, misstates every part of the case. But he's like, why are they going after a good corporation? I love corporations. I love the rich and the powerful. Oh, okay, that's what I thought.
Okay, we got to go to the final video on this CNBC segment because this is the part that was infuriating to me. Let's watch.
I think that they want to enforce statutes as written, and the Clayton Act says that anti-competitive mergers should be blocked. And they think that the last administration got too cautious.
Even if consumers benefit. I mean, there are times when companies shouldn't be in business because they're not competitive.
I think they believe the last 10 years, last 20 years, a lot of mergers happened that did not benefit consumers. Airline mergers all over the healthcare industry. And they're looking back, a lot of hospital mergers, and like, look, prices went up, things got worse, we blew it.
Healthcare is a lot different than technology, though.
It is, but it's actually worse, I think, in some of the merger practices.
Yes. Like, where do you think?
Most of the hospital mergers you look at have led to higher prices, worse patient outcomes, and have led to workers getting less money.
You don't think the base case should be let the markets decide on what happens?
No, Congress said something else.
Here you have the government does one thing, and then that causes unintended consequences for another thing, and then that causes this to happen, and that just stay out of it.
Well, I'll say two things. First of all, you can take that argument to Congress. Congress did pass the law banning anti-competitive mergers, so that's a view. Second, I think that they got to shake stuff up.
Congress has passed a lot of things that haven't been very smart in the last couple of years.
Well, but they do still, as far as I know, control what the law is.
In other words, the dominant message in that segment from the CNBC host that you heard from is, wouldn't it be great if there wasn't a cop on the beat looking to protect the consumers from predatory behavior by these corporations, by essentially anti-competitive actions through these mergers and acquisitions? Wouldn't it be awesome? Because it'd be so much more beneficial to the dominant corporations and the shareholders that have invested in these corporations. That's the decoding of what was actually being said in that segment by the host that you just heard from.
Yeah, so look, Tim Wu's also a law professor at Columbia, which I'm a little proud of, and he had receipts. And so he explained, like they're like, oh yeah, what's wrong? And then he's like, this is how it led to higher prices. This is specific examples. It's passed by Congress, take it up with Congress, etc. But my favorite part of that whole interaction was when the CNBC anchor is like, oh, why don't you just let the markets decide? So tell me you've never read Adam Smith without telling me you never read Adam Smith. So the whole, like he's basically considered the original founder of capitalism in a sense. It's at least he explained it and popularized it. And one of the things he clearly outlined is you must not allow monopolies. If you allow monopolies, it will be against free markets, not in favor of free markets. It will destroy free markets. And this guy's like, yeah, so what, man? Yeah, let the markets decide everything, including monopolies. It just crushed the competition so there's no more free markets. What's wrong with that, huh? Okay, everything, that's not capitalism, that's corporatism. And that's exactly what CNBC's in favor of, supporting the current behemoth corporations, even if they hurt consumers and the free markets.
Listen, the only merger and acquisition that CNBC host should be concerned with is his brain acquiring a little bit of critical thinking and knowledge.
Yeah,
okay, that
100%.
would be good.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.